So the 2024 Ford Puma ST-Line Facelift. This was actually at the Goodwood Festival Speed. I was there on the Thursday. And just to show you and talk to you about some of the designs and the tweaks and the little kind of intricacies. And what I'll also do is I will go through a little bit at the end just on the configurator, just around the price of this car. It starts from 26,700. So yeah, let's get straight into this one, and I'll play the footage that I essentially had. And this was kind of like my first impressions of actually seeing it in person. And I don't know if it was because of the potential paint color, but it didn't really stand out to me as something massively as a huge change. And you know, Ford Puma is such a well-selling car in the UK, and if people have the pre-facelift, would they want to go to the facelift? This is the new mild hybrid, so this is the 1 litre with the hybrid. I have driven the full ST hybrid before, and that's on my channel. But yeah, seeing essentially the facelifted version, if that makes sense, of the facelifted on the exterior and the interior, was actually a big change. And yeah, I'll play it through actually, and I'll talk as we're kind of going. That grille is kind of the big change. It's kind of like tucked in a little bit, if that makes sense. The wheels looked quite nice. I believe they're sort of diamond cut as well. And around the side, you've got sort of like a little bit of gloss black stuff as well. I struggled to notice too much difference in the rear. This one had the boot open, but I do love the features of like the release tailgate and how deep that boot is. I mean, I know that's on pretty much all the Pumas, but it's really practical, really easy to use, chuck stuff in. And yeah, and I did play around with the boot a little bit just to kind of get a look, but I couldn't really tell too much of the difference. The lights were a little bit different, and there were plenty of people going in and out of this car. But yeah, everything, you know, it's such a good car to use for everyone. This one was like a fully spec'd car as well with the pan roof, and it'll be interesting. I'll see how much this car actually comes to in price wise once kind of fully spec'd. I had a little look at the back as well, just to see your room in the Puma. Obviously a little bit higher than say like a Fiesta, which Ford don't make anymore. This car had some leather, and it had that new infotainment, which was yeah, a big talking point. That's kind of the biggest change of the whole facelift. The seats were nice. This is an automatic gearbox, but they did sort of update a few things. As I kind of mentioned on my previous video, it feels like it's gone more American, which I think is nice. As we'll move on to further footage, yeah, I had a comment on it and just like, does it obstruct your view? And I kind of think it does. You know, I like the Puma sign and bits, but I mean, it looks a bit strange, doesn't it? It looks like a bit of like a prototype kind of dash. You know, the touch and feel felt all right, particularly for a Ford. And the screen, the infotainment worked really well. This car had only done 55 miles, so it's obviously a box fresh one from Ford. Yeah, and I guess for me, it's like they tried to, they've got this big screen, and then they had to implement this stuff for it to be able to house it. That's just my kind of thinking. But it's a bit of an afterthought. And I show a little bit at the end of this like particular clip in a minute or two that I think it does actually slightly obstruct your eye line from the screen, because it sticks up a lot more than another Puma. But I played around with the infotainment, and yeah, you know, it worked fine. The maps worked fine. You know, it was responsive enough, if that makes sense. And they still had a few physical buttons, like for your volume, like for your start stop or your heated screens. Power button and bits, so that's always quite nice. Temperature controls, I believe, is off the screen, which yeah, I'm never a huge fan of those, but you know, that's the way things are going in 2024, so that's kind of what you have to kind of get used to. There's really only 1 litre models in the new Puma. The 1.5 from the ST no longer exists. This one looks like it has some sort of park camera surround. It has a USB-C port too. Glove box, you know, it's quite plasticky. There's no sort of velvet in it, but yeah. Pan roof is nice little touch. I didn't really think it obstructed headroom. Yeah, it's a nice usable car for everything. But that dash, what do you think from the eye line? Do you think you're losing a little bit of visibility out the front? Maybe I was slouched down a little bit in the camera, but I thought it was a bit strange. And you know, I'm interested to know your thoughts in the comments. Maybe you'd kind of get used to it, but it looks like something like, it just looks very sort of straight lined and like boxes shape. Manual handbrake, a bit more leather kind of around the side, and it's certainly got a lot of attention from like the Ford stand. This was at Ford, you know, so you got the pickups, you got the you know, some of the electric ones. A lot of people were just interested in the Puma, but it was kind of just like the forgotten car, you know, a little bit in grey. And I was like, well, actually, you know, this is probably one of the more important cars in the UK, particularly about the Fiesta being existed. Yeah, I feel they're still really great cars to kind of have and use. And I think the little touches are quite nice. But you can see it from the front of the windshield there. That sort of weird. I think it's really strange. I think it's a bit of an afterthought. I mean, that's the best image there. But you see that. I don't know. I mean, thoughts in the comments. What do you think of that? Yeah, really interested. No, I think it's a little bit strange. And then you've got the facelift lights and the facelift few other bits, which are kind of going on. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy they're making these cars. I think they work well in the city and they work well kind of all round. And we kind of go on to the configuration, you know, how long they'll last. That looked like an ST-Line rather than ST-Line X. I mean, I could be wrong. It might be an ST-Line X actually, because the wheels are slightly different. Because they had I'm pretty sure it had the 18-inch. Let me see if it's an ST-Line X. If I just go to look at the wheels of this ST-Line, let's see. Let's go for the 155 PS version, because that kind of makes sense. You want the biggest one. I believe the colour was cactus grey. Was it cactus grey or solar silver? Quite hard to tell, actually. I'm going to say it was cactus grey, but that's another £800. So you're straight away up to 30 grand on that. Those wheels do look slightly different. I think the car that was shown was an ST-Line X. And in fact, I can probably tell if there's a little bit on the roof is 1,000. The tail, the comfort pack, which is what this car had, looked like it had a winter pack as well. Wow, that's interesting. Let's check for a few things. Rubber floor mats are always quite handy. There's no way to change the wheels, so my guess is that the car that we showed was an ST-Line X, which makes sense. So let's configure the ST-Line X, shall we? And yeah, so you can get a choice of 3 engines, all in hybrid. You know, starting from the 125 PS, 6-speed manual. Oh, you can get a manual with one of the hybrids. That's my mistake then. 170 newtons worth of torque, 9.8 seconds. That's nice. Maybe a little bit lighter, not being in auto. You can then get the 125 PS 7-speed auto. Again, same power, torque, slightly faster, 0 to 60. And then you get the 155 PS 7-speed auto, a little bit faster, 8.7, 190 meters of torque. So that's quite cool. I quite like you can get a manual then. So yeah, correct myself as I move further on. The colour, let's spec it. I mean, I like Fantastic Red. I think that looks really nice. Yeah, I've always done it. You know, I like the wheels as well. I think it works well with the Puma. You also get it in like a Gate Black or Desert Island Blue, Solar Silver. Frozen White looks like it's got a contrasting black roof, which is quite nice. That's cool. We'll see that more at the end. But this particular car was done in Cactus Grey. So all £800 options, the Frozen White being a £0 option. I think it was Cactus Grey, but that just doesn't look like the one that I saw. Anyway, interior wise, I mean, there's what I basically saw in the car. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all subjective. What do you guys think in the comments? On the ST-Line X, you can only get a few little features with the mats and stuff. And actually, it looks like more is included then in your ST-Line X. Yeah, you get a lot more as part of the features as part of it, which is pretty good. This car going up to £31,600. So if you want to kind of get a car which has everything like the ST-Line X, you get the 18-inch wheels, you get the fog lamps, you get the 12.8-inch clusters, the screen basically in front of your steering wheel, and then you've got the 12-inch touch screen display, wireless charging, power lift tailgate, electronic temperature control, automatic feedback, Ford Mega Box, rear camera. You get a lot. Well, based on this, I would definitely go for the ST-Line X over an ST-Line, because if you want some of those extra features, you're going to be paying far more for it, because actually it was quite expensive actually to whack all those in. The titanium is actually the cheapest model at 25,800, which is interesting because I imagine that's got slightly softer suspension than the ST line, or sort of the top of the range ST, obviously. So that could be quite a good car to go for. 25 grand for a new car like that, that's not bad. But yeah, if you went for a normal ST line and you stuck it in sort of like the biggest engine, as we did with the last one, and with the new colour, and then you sort of got the extras going. So you said, oh, you know what, I want, oh, you know what, I'm getting this completely wrong. I think when I checked the ST line X, man, it's so confusing with all of these ones. When you go to the extras, I think I was on the second page. That was why. Let's see if I was right about that. Yeah, I was. So so you can still get all these. Okay, let's get back to business. Pan roof, that's what it had, £1,000. Driver assistance pack, it definitely looked like it had that. That's another £950. The Matrix glare-free headlamps, I don't know if it had that, but let's add it. £800. Winter pack, heated front seats and heated steering wheel. Let's go for it. 19-inch wheels. It didn't have the 19s. Mini spare steel wheel. Goes into the Ford Mega Box. Reduces the size of the Mega Box. Okay, so that's a bit of a shame if you did that. Rubber floor mats. Not too much else actually. But this car had quite a few little features. It's obviously got some bits which is as part of it, as part of the standard part of the car. £34,700. Right, before I get too confused about all these models, that is essentially the new Ford Puma facelift. And yeah, I'm interested to know what you think of the, let me know any comments that you have of why kind of my first impressions kind of checking out the car. Would you upgrade? Would you not? That's kind of subjective, but I tried to make a bit of a community channel, so feel free to come back to this and check back on previous content. I've done a bit on the Puma as well, including this video just up here on the full-on ST. So well worth checking that out. And again, yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments and check back on previous content to see if you like, and if you do, feel free to subscribe. And yeah, I look forward to having you on the channel with us, and yeah, we can get a bit more of an understanding of new facelift models such as this best-selling Puma.